Ladies and gentlemen, joining us right now, a man you might have heard of, the current reigning, defending, undisputed MVP of the NFL, Green Bay Packers quarterback, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah!
Woo! Hey, Rod.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
I'm good. First things first, how are you doing? Is everything okay? Or how are the symptoms? Do we feel good? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing really well. Big thanks to everybody that reached out, checked on me the last couple of days. Felt really good. Heard from so many teammates, former teammates, coaches, members of the organization, friends, both yourselves. Thank you guys for that.
Hey, no problem.
So definitely appreciate all the love and support.
Okay, good. Let's get right to it. All right, I feel like what we have been able to, I don't want to say build with you in your incredible, just how nice you are with your time with us every single Tuesday. People have learned a lot about you through this show, and I'm very thankful for that. Every Tuesday, I think a lot of thoughts were potentially changed about you. People that once thought something about you changed after hearing you speak. So whenever all this information came out, there was a lot of haters out there, obviously, that immediately started burying you, but there was a lot of people that listened to you on Tuesdays that say, hey, he's actually an incredibly deep person, an incredibly intelligent person, somebody that you would actually like. There has to be reasons for everything that we're hearing about right now. So I appreciate you so much for this incredible honor that we have to potentially allow you to have a platform and a floor to explain your side of this whole thing. And I can't wait to hear it. We're incredibly lucky for it. The floor is yours, Mr. Rodgers.
Thank you, buddy.
Good water drink. It's going to be a long one.
I realize I'm in the crosshairs of the woke mob right now. So before my final nail gets put in my cancel culture casket, I think I'd like to set the record straight on so many of the blatant lies that are out there about myself right now. And I appreciate the opportunity to tell my side of the story on here. First of all, I didn't lie in the initial press conference. During that time, it was a very, witch hunt that was going on across the league, where everybody in the media was so concerned about who was vaccinated and who wasn't, and what that meant, and who was being selfish, and who would talk about it, and what it meant if they said it's a personal decision. They shouldn't have to disclose their own medical information and whatnot. And at the time, my plan was to say that I've been immunized. It wasn't some sort of ruse or lie. It was the truth, and I'll get into the whole immunization in a second. But had there been a follow-up to my statement that I've been immunized, I would have responded with this. I would have said, look, I'm not some sort of anti-vax flat earther. I am somebody who's a critical thinker. You guys know me. I march to the beat of my own drum. I believe strongly in bodily autonomy and the ability to make choices for your body, not to have to acquiesce to some woke culture or crazed, group of individuals who say you have to do something. Health is not a one-size-fits-all for everybody. And for me, it involved a lot of study in the off-season, much like the study I put into hosting Jeopardy or the weekly study I put into playing in the game. I put a lot of time and energy and research and met with a lot of different people in the medical field to get the most information about the vaccines before making a decision. And in actuality, it was pretty easy in the beginning to eliminate two of them. And it didn't involve going into the questionable history of some of their criminal activities and fraud cases or any of that stuff. It was simply the fact that I have an allergy to an ingredient that's in the mRNA vaccines. So on the CDC's own website, it says, should you have an allergy to any of the ingredients, you should not get one of the mRNA vaccines. So those two were out already. So my only option was Johnson & Johnson. At this time, in the early spring, I had heard of multiple people who had adverse events around getting the J&J. Nothing that was no deaths or anything, but just some really difficult times and physical abnormalities around the J&J shot. And then in mid-April, the J&J shot got pulled for clotting issues, if you remember that, right? So the J&J shot was not even an option at that point. So then my options became, okay, what can I do to protect myself and my teammates if there's not one of the big three options for me in my own body? And so I looked into and talked again to a lot of medical individuals and professionals, and found that there was an immunization protocol that I could go to best protect myself and my teammates. And it was a long-term protocol that involved multiple months. And I'm very proud of the research that went into that, and the individuals that I met with, and we felt like it was what was best for me. It was not, again, something that the league didn't know about. The league was fully aware of it upon my return to the Packers, and it was at that point that I petitioned them to accept my immunization status as under their vaccination protocol. Now, at the time, they had only had the big three was what they're going to do, and if you weren't in the vaccinated category, you were in a different category, which involved some draconian measures and protocols that you would have to adhere to, which, in my opinion, were not based on science. Were more based in a shame-based environment to try and get as many guys to get vaccinated as possible, so that the league looks better to the rest of the world. That was the focus of these, protocols, which I'll get into when I finish this diatribe here about the petition. So I petitioned the league. Initially, they returned and said, "No, you'll be in the unvaccinated category." And I also said, "How come there's no exemptions for medical exemptions, religious exemptions, pre-existing conditions?" And they basically said, "Look, those are all basically exempted, but you would be put in the non-vaccinated category." And I'll get into what that meant from a scheduling standpoint shortly, but there wasn't any way of getting around that in their mind. So after they came back and said, "No, you're unvaxxed," I said, "Okay, I'm going to appeal this." And so we went through the process, which was a multi-week process, where I asked them for time to gather information. I gathered over 500 pages of research on the efficacy of immunizations, all the latest research surrounding my case, everything from mask wearing to the efficacy of the vaccines and the duration of the antibodies, just all the latest research, right, that I was getting from my medical team. And in that process, we had many conversations. I enjoyed the conversation with the league. It was good sharing. But one in particular stood out when I knew I was not going to win this. I had a meeting, and they said, one of the main docs said, "It's impossible for a vaccinated person to get COVID or spread COVID." And at that point, I knew that I was definitely not going to win the appeal, and it was very shortly thereafter that denied, which we know now that information is totally false that was given to me. My desire to immunize myself was what was best for my body, and that's why this is so important to me. My medical team advised me that the danger of an adverse event was greater than the risk of getting COVID and recovering. So I made a decision that was in the best interest of my body. Not telling somebody to not get vaccinated or to get vaccinated. I think you should do what's in the best interest of your body. If you're scared of COVID, or if you have comorbidities, then getting vaccinated is probably in your best option. But if you have immunocompromised system, or if you have pre-existing conditions, then make the decision that's in your best interest. And that's what I did. I made the decision that was in my best interest. And the other part to it is that, and I've talked about this on the show before, but the next great chapter in my life, I believe, is being a father. And it's something that I care about a lot. And to my knowledge, there's been zero long-term studies around sterility or fertility issues around the vaccines. So that was definitely something that I was worried about, and that went through my mind. Now, obviously, having an allergy to an ingredient, it took me off of being able to take the mRNA anyway. But that, even if I didn't have that, that would be something that would give me a little bit of pause because we don't know what the long-term effects of these are. There's still clinical trials going on through 2023. So to just like when people just say, "Oh, just get the jab, just get the jab." Well, first of all, everybody's body is different. Number one, and second of all, there's a lot of things we don't know about this. So that's just one thing I really want to stress there. And again, the organization knew exactly what my status was. My teammates knew exactly what my status was. There was nothing that was hidden. During the time of preseason was during the time of the appeal. I thought actually at various times I was going to win the appeal. Um, uh, and I think that people said I'd wear a mask during the preseason. Um, but I don't. I mean, some of the rules to me are not based in science at all. They're based purely in trying to out and shame people, like needing to wear a mask at a podium when every person in the room is vaccinated and wearing a mask makes no sense to me. If you got vaccinated to protect yourself from a virus that I don't have as an unvaccinated individual, then why are you worried about anything that I can give you? And let me hit on protocols now because that's obviously been out there as well. I have followed every single protocol to a T, minus that one I just mentioned, which makes absolutely no sense to me. But my daily routine is the routine of an unvaccinated person, which is I have to test early before starting the season. Vaccinated people test once every 2 weeks, non-vaccinated once a day, which, again, that's not based in science at all. You can have vaccinated people who actually carry and spread the virus, not testing for 2 weeks, and non-vaccinated people are the safest people in the building because we're the ones who are testing every single day and wearing masks the entire time. But instead, we're being made to think that we're the dangerous ones, we're the super spreaders, when in fact we're the most in touch with our body every single day. But these protocols that we've had to go through, I test every single day, 5 a.m. on noon games as well, which I don't understand why 5 a.m., but 5 a.m. in the morning on noon games. You test in the morning, and before you can go in the facility, you got to wait in your car for 30 to 40 minutes until they give you the okay to go in. Non-vaccinated or vaccinated people test and just go right in. So we had somebody test the other day. Vaccinated person tests, goes in, has breakfast, test positive, and then oh shit, bummer. He just had breakfast with 5 people. Um, Wait in my car, mask every day in the facility. So I mask up every single day in the facility. Physically distance from everybody else. I have major travel restrictions, so I can't leave the hotel. Can't have dinner with teammates, even though I tested negative that morning to even get on the flight. The only people I see at the hotel are vaccinated people.
Good catch. Happy that COVID hasn't caught your instincts.
Yeah. Only people I see at the hotel are vaccinated people.
Still got it.
But I have to wear a mask the entire time. I can't see anybody. Can't see anybody after the game. I work out off to the side in the weight room in a mask. Again, there's many studies about the efficacy of masks for workouts or the higher levels of CO2 inhaled during workouts and how it affects performance and body function. Not allowed to use the sauna or the steam room. I have to wear a yellow wristband at all times, basically shouting to the world, I'm uncleaned and unvaxxed. And in this situation now, I'm 10 days off regardless of tests or symptoms. So I'm sitting here 2 days in. I had some symptoms Tuesday night, tested positive Wednesday morning. Didn't feel great yesterday. I'll get into what I've been doing, but I feel really good today. This is Friday.
It is.
But 10 days off regardless, where a vaccinated person just has to have 2 back-to-back negative tests. When it comes to the science again for non-vaccinated, it came up last week because Alan Lazard was a close contact to Devontae Adams, and Alan is not vaxxed, and yeah, they obviously tried to cancel him for that. But they also didn't bring up the fact that he tested negative every single day. So just because he was close contact and not vaxxed, this is what the league has done: is they've made it, hard for people, uh, to have a decision because, well, you're close contact. That means you're out for 5 days. Not based on any science, other than we're going to just keep this propaganda narrative going that unvaccinated people are the most dangerous people in society. So, uh, and again,
Can I ask some? Can I ask some questions here now? Can I
yeah,
get?
let me finish up here. I'm almost
Got
done.
it. Got it.
I just want to say, that is what the media has been trying to do. They're trying to shame and out and cancel all of us non-vaccinated people, call us selfish.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the propaganda line too. Now, you're selfish for making a decision that's in the best interest of your body. Now, I've already spelled out, which I shouldn't have to, but I've already spelled out the issues of my own personal body and my own personal health. Right? That I have issues related to ingredients in the mRNA vaccines. That the J&J got pulled, not to mention the numerous issues with the J&J vaccine to this day. That I went out and on my own paid for and did research and went out and did an immunization protocol that's been used. Homeopathy has been around for centuries, and the doctors that I consulted with have been doing this for decades. The same type of stuff for children and adults who have immunocompromisation. They have pre-existing conditions or reasons that they cannot take traditional vaccines. The league didn't offer any opportunity for alternative medicines or treatments, as I'll get into. But I think the thing that is so disappointing is that it was not just that, but it was the coercion and the collusion, of GM saying they're not gonna sign non-vaccinated players, and the coercion for player 54 through 90 who thinks if I don't make this squad that I'm on now in training camp, I'm not vaxxed, my career is over. So there wasn't even opportunities. Workers in those same environments had no opportunity. Workers at the facilities, and it's happened all over the country. You're seeing these mandates for firefighters and policemen and government workers who are saying, "Well, no, it's what about my body, my choice? What about making the best decision for my own circumstance?" And that again, that health is not a one size fits all thing. I think that's the thing that's most disappointing. Look at our squad. We've had, I'm the second non-vax player to test positive. It's pretty evident I tested positive being around a vaccinated individual. I mean, that's the majority of people I spend time with. There's been dozens of individuals that work at the facility that are vaxxed that have tested positive. So this idea that it's the pandemic of the unvaccinated is just a total lie. And I go back to like these two questions for the for this woke mob. Like number one, if the vaccine is so great, then how come people are still getting COVID and spreading COVID and unfortunately dying from COVID? Like, if the vaccine is so safe, then how come the manufacturers of the vaccine have full immunity? So let's just step back and realize, like, this vaccine is revolutionary, the things that they're doing. However, we don't know a whole lot about it. And to just say that it's a blanket for all that ails you, in my opinion, is wrong and reckless. And for the media out there taking shots at me, like, you don't know my story, now you do. So quit lying about me. And personal health decisions, in my opinion, should be private. And they shouldn't have to be like gone through the ringer and over scrutinized by, people who are just pushing their own type of propaganda on the people and ideals. If you want to have a conversation about it, I'm more than willing to have a conversation about it. But bodily autonomy is a right. And the shaming and the outing that, people seem to get off on so much of finding these people who, oh my God, can you believe these crackpots who are not vaccinated? Everybody has their own story. Everybody has their own story and their own issues and their own reasons for doing things. But this shaming cancel society, that is wrong. And I made a choice that was in my best interest. You might respect it, you might hate it, but I bet you the same people that hate it are the same people that are really going to hate the fact that I'm 48 hours in, and I consulted with a now good friend of mine, Joe Rogan, after he got COVID, and I've been doing a lot of the stuff that he recommended in his podcasts and, on the phone to me. And I'm going to have the best immunity possible now based on the 2.5 million person study from Israel that people who get COVID and recover have the most robust immunity. And I'm thankful for people like Joe stepping up and using their voice. I'm thankful for my medical squad. And I'm thankful for all the love and support I've gotten. But I've been taking monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, zinc, vitamin C and D, HCQ, and I feel pretty incredible.
Okay, so you said a lot there. We appreciate it. I'm going to have to ask some follow-ups, and we appreciate you getting your entire side out there. And there's some incredibly enlightening stuff about why you chose to do what you do. So I wasn't able to get the, what was that last one? The
Ivermectin.
Ivermectin. I wasn't even able to get it. Doctor, I didn't know that this was an entire political battle. I don't know that world well enough. I had no clue. But the doctor was like, hey, we'll give you this. You'll get this. Go over to the pharmacy, pick it up. I was vaccinated, had COVID, by the way, 104.5-degree fever. I mean, it was bad. And I had to think about my long term because I would like to be a father as well when I made those decisions. I went over to the pharmacy and I was in the middle of having COVID. And me and the pharmacist were getting into like, you're not allowed to have this. Isn't what you're allowed to have. It became this whole thing. I had no idea what the fuck was going on. Like, I didn't write the script. I have no clue what you're doing. But it seems like all the rich people, okay, since the beginning of time, and this is coming from somebody who, and I'm not going to say I was a poor person, but a very humble beginning. Since the beginning of time, we always assumed that the rich people always got the best access to the best stuff, and they've always been able to do it. And then all the rich people are taking this one thing, and it seems to be helping everybody out. And then all of a sudden, somehow everybody is now being told that it's not. This isn't going to do it. This is horse. This is that. It's like, I don't understand how we get to that as a whole world. I haven't looked into it enough, but it appears as if you have. And if I'm getting this right after what you just said there, the diatribe that was like 20 minutes addressing all answers, and I saw you take notes there, which is beautiful. Am I getting it right that you didn't want to be one of the faces of like the anti-vax community? So whenever people said that you slyly and misled, and that was in the middle of a different time than we're currently in, it feels like the way you were talking is you didn't want to become a poster boy, the MVP of the NFL, Aaron Rodgers. You weren't ready or didn't want to be the poster boy for an anti-vax community. And now have you just had to buy into it because there's a lot of, every politics, sports world, everybody's talking about you right now. This is basically all of 2020 and 2021 crashing down in on itself in one situation for a guy that's currently in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Have you now kind of bought into that? And your message was very clear, like you should make your own personal decision, which is what everybody said. But is that why at the beginning you didn't want to be that person? Is that why you kind of did the immunized answer? And if you would have got harped on it, you would have followed up, but you didn't want to get into that world? Is that why you chose that?
I really felt like at the time there was a time and a place for sharing of information. It was such a witch hunt. They wanted to out and shame and denigrate every single person who didn't immediately say, "Oh yeah, I got the Pfizer, I got the Moderna, whatever." I wanted it to go away. I mean, everyone in the squad knew I was not vaccinated. Everyone in the organization knew I wasn't vaccinated. I wasn't hiding it from anybody. I was trying to minimize and mitigate having to have this conversation that would go on and on. And there were people in the media who somehow found out about it and been sitting on it for a couple months. So it wasn't like this thing was just hidden until this week. Like people knew it and they sat on it. At some point I knew I was going to have to discuss it. And, I was ready to discuss it. But the problem with this is it is so political. And health should not be political. It shouldn't be that, Trump endorsed ivermectin and HCQ. And so take that shit off. It doesn't work. I mean, in general, I think we all should have been a little hesitant. When Trump in 2020 was championing these vaccines that were coming so quick, what did the left say? And I'm talking about every member of the left. don't trust the vaccine, don't get the vaccine, you're going to die from the vaccine. And then what happened? Biden wins and everything flips. Shouldn't that initially give you a little bit of pause and go, hold on a second? Isn't this shit about health and not about like politics? And to that point, has any member of the health staff this entire time got up and actually talked about real health? Have they talked about exercise, a healthy diet, like eating real food, drinking water, taking vitamins, vitamin D deficiency, and what that causes in the body? No, there hasn't been any of that. So,
Hey,
and
so
I'm just, look, I'm going to critically think about what's best for my own health. I'm not judging anybody else. I'm not saying you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that. But I'm making a decision that's based on what's best for me and my own health. And for me, it was a no-brainer.
you said the league knew of your situation and everything. Obviously, when you're appealing your whole protocol that you did. Now, a big thing is that you're doing these press conferences. You're not wearing a mask, whatever. You told us how you feel about the protocols. Have you heard anything from the league throughout this? I mean, you played through how many weeks to where they could clearly see you doing these interviews? Have you heard from anybody in the organization, from the league? What is it?
There have been conversations with it. I would, add this to the mix as an aside, but the great MLK said that you have a moral obligation to object to unjust rules and rules that make no sense. In my opinion, it makes no sense for me. I test every single day. Every single day. So we play in Arizona on Thursday. We come back. Guys leave for the weekend. I don't. We test every single day, right? Early in the morning. If I test in the morning and I wear a mask the entire facility, and you want me to wear a mask just to shame me that I'm not vaccinated, to continue to perpetuate a story that I'm not vaccinated, in a room where the only way you can get in that room is if you're fully vaccinated against a virus that I don't have as a non-vaccinated person. Not to mention, you're sitting more than 6 feet away from me, in most cases at least 20 feet away from me. Where's the science in that? Where's the science in that says, oh, that makes perfect sense? So it was my opinion that wasn't rooted in any science. Every other protocol I followed to the T.
Okay, so your day-to-day is terrible. It sounds like as a or non-vaccinated, but they said that going into the season. What do you have to say about the people like, well, this is the NFL, this is what you have to do? Like, did you ever even consider that or thought about that? Like, hey, the NFL, you get to do this? Or are you potentially speaking for a lot of NFL players right now and NFL coaches and GMs that are also a little bit like, hey, we're the most in shape people in the world. We study our bodies more than maybe anybody out there. You heard stories. Russell Wilson spends $1 million plus a year on his body. Tom Brady has an entire business around taking care of his body. You're 30 what? What are you now?
37.
Still squatting. You're changing you're taking care of your body. I think you're speaking for a lot of people in there, but what about the people that say, like, this is the NFL's rules, this is what you got to do. You get to be there. You know, that entire statement, your thoughts?
I respect both sides of that argument and understand both sides of that. I will say, when they sent in the stooge early in training camp to basically shame our team that we were 19th in the league in percentage of vaccinated people, I raised my hand and asked a few questions to challenge some of the things he was saying. And afterwards, I heard from so many people on the team, players, coaches, who thanked me for being able to stand up and say the things that I said, because it's hard for those people, especially people who don't have a position of leadership or any type of power, to stand up to things that don't make any sense. And the coercion that was forced on some of these individuals, without an opportunity to have an exemption based on pre-existing conditions, medical exemption, or a religious exemption, to me was a little bit inhumane. And those guys really appreciated me standing up for them. I've talked to many guys across the league who are in similar situations and have been faced with similar ways of being dealt with. I understand that the league is able to put in place its own policies. I didn't agree to any of them, though. I didn't sign a piece of paper that gave away my rights to live a normal season of life. And I felt like I protected myself in a way that not only protected myself and my teammates. And, I tested over 300 times before finally testing positive. Like I said, it was probably from a vaccinated individual. I don't think that many of the policies are rooted in science.
Quick question about the science. Hey, quick question here, Aaron. You said you had your medical team, and it was like a 500-page research report, which is unbelievable. I think a lot of people would enjoy seeing that. Did that team present it to the NFL? And how was the NFL's doctorate or medical team responsive to your holistic homeopathic doctors that have been doing it for decades and decades and decades? You think there was no respect immediately there, not even an open ear for the conversation?
I think they thought I was a quack. I mean, and which was portrayed out in what was said to me when the vaccinated people can't contract the virus or spread the virus. And I had already had studies that I had seen that was false. And when that was said, I knew there was no chance I was going to win this appeal. Before that, I really thought there was a chance. I really felt like we were making some hay and we were having good conversations. At least being able to amend some of the policies for non-vaccinated players that didn't make sense scientifically, that seemed to be solely rooted in a way to shame guys into having to be outed or coerce them even more to get the vaccine. Things like bye-week schedule and mini bye-week schedule and stuff on the road. To me, it didn't make sense from a science level. It's more just trying to make us have the least fun year possible that maybe will make more guys end up getting vaccinated.
Can you explain what your holistic homeopathic immunization potentially does? Like, what does it build up in your body? Because I think there's probably a lot of people who potentially feel the exact same way you do. Actually, I know there's a lot of people who feel the exact same way that you do. That's personal decision, don't want to do it for whatever the reason is, whether they're immunocompromised. Mm-hmm. Nailed it. Thank you. Bingo. That's a big time science word. But there's probably a lot of people that feel the way you do. What did your research find? And why did you feel as if you were immunized? What did you build up in your body that maybe you were able to find without the allergy to the mRNA or the studies you did on Johnson & Johnson? How did you find this particular treatment plan to get there?
Well, I researched a lot of different types of medical individuals, and I talked with not just MDs but holistic doctors, homeopaths, different people. And when you start to talk to these people, there's a common thread with many of these folks, and that all they care about is healing people. And there's some jokes about how healing people, there's no money in it, which is an interesting thing to think about. But I was fortunate enough to be around some amazing minds, Harvard MDs and brilliant people from all over the country who I kind of brought in and just talked to them about some of my own issues and what would be best and what they would recommend. And the opportunity to do this, the homeopathic stuff came up. The specific protocol, I'm just going to keep between my doctors and myself. But it was a way to stimulate my immune system to create a defense against COVID.
So what happens when you go back? I know you're eligible to return if you test negative, I guess the day before the Cardinals game, November 13th, I believe. Are you going to change anything when you get in there?
Seahawks game?
Is it Seahawks? Yeah.
I think, the interesting thing is I don't think I have to test now for 90 days. So I don't know how that changes everything else in the facility. Do I become basically a vaccinated status where I don't have to wear a mask and I don't test? I'm not sure. I'm sure I'll find that out shortly. I'm sure somebody will probably watch this and text me in the next half hour. But
you do? What if they said? That would be funny. Yeah, you're wearing a mask everywhere still, pal. Yeah, that would be Sorry.
But that's what I do want to say, is I have taken this very seriously. I'm not a COVID denier or any bullshit like that. Like, I just wanted to make the decision that was best for my body. That's it. I wear my mask when I go out in public, The only time I haven't worn my mask is when I'm around all vaccinated people. And my response to those people would be like, hey, just so you know, I tested this morning negative, number one. And number two, you got vaccinated against something that you would be worried about me having, which I just told you I'm negative. To me, I can't make any more sense than that. Like, if I'm in public, I wear a mask. If I'm at my house, I'm not wearing a mask.
Hey, it would be awesome if you would have came on here because I was told, a couple times through this entire process that I was a bad journalist because I didn't ask you what immunized meant and if you were vaccinated or not. So I appreciate you, not showing up in a mask the first 8 weeks of Aaron Rodgers Tuesday because we wouldn't have been able to hear you. That would have been a little bit difficult. It would have been bad for the show. But I do appreciate the fact that you're testing every single morning. So you know more about your level of COVIDness inside of you than probably anybody else on earth right now. I'm not sure there's any other protocol that's doing that to anybody. The only protocols that are around the country right now in every business is very similar to the NFL is, hey, if you get vaccinated, your life's going to be a lot easier. If you're not vaccinated, it is going to be hell. That is basically happening everywhere. I guess they're firing people now at this point if you're not vaccinated. How do you see this whole thing panning out now that you are the center of the entire vaccination world almost at this point, Aaron?
I think that at some point we need to remember that health is not the same for everybody. It's not a one-size-fits-all. I've said that a couple times now. I strongly believe in autonomy over one's body and the ability to make decisions that you think are in your best interest. I think it's crazy to have these mandates. Obviously, there's been people that stand up to them and pushing back against them, whether it's the airlines or some of the municipal workers. The vaccines do offer some protection for sure, but there's a lot we don't know about them. There's a lot we don't know about the waning antibody counts. And now, I think there's been conversations around needing boosters, a third and a fourth, booster shot. There's a lot to natural immunity, and natural immunity has not been a part of the conversation. But the latest studies, and I have 30 of them I can go through, talk about how important natural immunity is. And actually, if you've gotten COVID and recovered from it, that's the best boosted immunity you can have. I think what we forget to talk about here, because again, healing people, there's not a lot of money in it, but this is a pandemic of health, right? As much as it is, a virus which mutates, which we know it mutates, and it's going to continue to mutate and mutate on and on and on. But it's a virus of health, and the most important thing would be educating people on how to live a healthier life. That's how we can beat any type of disease. Not putting a blanket over it with a vaccine, which creates a spike protein, which recognizes one specific strand of a virus, which is made to mutate. How about we teach people how to be healthy? And until that is the conversation, and it's, it's nothing's going to happen. The conversation is going to be, that, I'm a, non-vaxxed person, and, then the non-vaxxed people, the right or whatever, is going to champion me, and the left is going to cancel me, and I'm...
No. Aaron.
And the whole time, I don't give a shit about either of them. Politics is a total sham. I'm not going to go on Fox News like I wouldn't go on CNN. I have zero desire to do any of that. The only desire I have is to empower people out there to take autonomy over their body in all forms and facets, and that you have the right to make a decision about your body. That should be an unalienable right for all people to make an educated decision based on what they think is best for them, their body, their family, their family's bodies, on and on and on. If you have fear around the virus and you want to get vaccinated, go for it. If you have comorbidities, go for it. If you're a healthy person who has a strong immune system, keep building your immune system, and do what you got to do. Do what's best for your body. But that opinion, doesn't work because we've given away billions of dollars to these pharmaceutical companies now for these vaccines, and it's not going to stop. Merck's coming out with a pill. Pfizer's coming out with a pill that's going to help. It's basically the expensive versions of ivermectin. Why do people hate ivermectin? Not just because Trump championed it, because it's a cheap generic. Can't make any money off it. But it's been used 1 billion times in India. Go look at that research. What's going on over there?
Well, I would let you know. I feel like I have to do a lot of research after the conversation we just had. There's going to be people that are so incredibly pissed at me for not asking you more questions. But to be clear, I am a sports stooge who is incredibly lucky to get a chance to chat with a man who has been at the center of a conversation for the last couple of days, revolving around his decision-making and what he has done. Seems like you're in a good spot. I hope you continue to remain asymptomatic throughout this entire thing, and can't wait to see you back on the field, brother.
Yeah, let me just finish with this.
Okay.
I thought that is really powerful, and I hope people can hear that. The situation that I'm in should be a conversation, not a controversy. I've made a decision based on what's best for my body. I've just laid it out to you, my health history, and why I made this decision. Okay? This shouldn't be a controversy. It should be a conversation. I'm here to continue the conversation. Because of this virus and testing positive, I have to miss 10 days. Again, the scientifics of that arbitrary number is whatever. I feel really good, and if this were the flu, there's no reason I wouldn't play on Sunday, especially the way I feel right now. That being said, I'm very excited for Jordan. I have had conversations with him. It's going to be very strange to watch the game without being there. Just my third time ever watching a game on TV of a team that I've been on. The other two was post-surgeries in 2006 and 2017. So that's going to be hard, but look, I hope that we can take a step back, quit lying, quit with the witch hunt and the canceling, and realize this is a conversation to be had, not a controversy. And let's move this forward with some love and connection. That's what we need in this world. Things that we don't agree with or understand. When we don't agree or understand with each other, let's communicate instead of initially just canceling someone, silencing someone. Like, that gets us nowhere. Like, that's what I did when I started my research. I put every single bias to the side and think about, okay, what is going to be best for my body, and listen to everybody on every side of every opinion. That's the only way to truly learn things without bringing your own personal, bias into things. You want to live in an echo chamber? Like, go for it. But that's not a way to move society forward. That's not a way to move your own consciousness forward. You got to be able to reach across the aisle and talk to people you don't agree with. I've talked to many people who are vaxxed, and we've had incredible conversations on both sides. And I appreciate hearing their insight. I made a decision that was in the best decision of my body. And if you have a problem with that, there's nothing that I can say to you other than this was my decision, this was best for my body, and I'm sorry you feel that way.
It'd be a really cool world if we all knew why we felt the way we felt, as opposed to just judging people for the way that they feel. Last question for you before we let you go, and this has been awesome. We're probably going to get deplatformed at some point, I assume. I think that is something that's potentially going to happen out here. But I appreciate you coming in here and spilling your soul, basically, and your thoughts. And we're learning a lot about you, I think, in the process of doing this. And my last question is, did you know this was going to come? You had to have known, right, at some point? Because, for instance, when I got COVID and my wife didn't, but she was with me the entire time that I was there, and there was 2 pilots on the plane and something else, and they didn't get it for 4 days later, and then once that happened, it just kind of went, and it was going. I just assumed everybody was going to get COVID. I said, I got vaccinated, I just assumed everybody's going to get COVID at some point, hey, look at, it is coming. Did you expect this at some point to hit? You had to have, right, I assume?
Yeah, I knew it was going to hit because I specifically said I'm immunized. And I felt like at some point that was going to get revisited. There were people that were fishing around about that had the story 2 months ago. Um, so I knew that this was going to come. I was ready for it.
Hey, why didn't they go with it 2 months ago if they had it?
I don't know exactly why. Maybe there wasn't enough to cancel in the moment. They want, they kind of got a windfall when I got COVID to go with this story. But look, I obviously don't want to ever get COVID and have to miss time from your teammates. But to label what they've labeled it selfish, deceptive, there was nothing deceptive about it. Like, me, the things I say are very pointed. If there had been follow-up questions, I would have answered them honestly as well. My team, everybody in the organization knew exactly what my status was from day one. And the decision I made was purely a decision that was in the best interest of my body. So, look, I don't really have a whole lot else to say other than this is the highlight of my day. Not just getting to talk to you guys, but it's kind of boring when you're quarantined by yourself for 10 days. So.
It's lonely too, man. It's lonely in there too. I mean, when I was in there, my wife was staying away from me for 2-3 days there at the beginning, and then she ended up getting it so we could hang out again. But the mental aspect of it is just as difficult as hopefully the physical aspect that you're already past. We can't thank you enough for joining us. We'll see you next Tuesday, pal.
Can't wait. I think I'll be 100% by then. Buddy.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's Aaron Rodgers Friday. What will he say? Is that son of a bitch vaccinated?
What do you watch today, or is he going to watch on Tuesday? That's the question.
Oh, okay. We'll sing the vaccination song on Tuesday. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Aaron Rodgers. Thank you, man. Yeah! Sirius XM Hour 2 is ending in 5 seconds. We'll be back in about 10 minutes on Sirius XM. We can't thank you enough. Out. That was a hard out there. Wow. Whew. Hey, he said a lot in there, AJ.
Yeah, he sure did.
There's a lot said in there. Let's get to a break because I have to go to the bathroom, and that was a fascinating thing. There's going to be a lot from that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure I missed so many follow-up questions, but y'all motherfuckers did too when he said he was immunized. So get off my ass.